Hi guys, I'm going to start teaching you Forrest Gump right now, and please get the movie. Netflix is a good way to watch it. If you do not have Netflix, find another way to get this movie. It's very famous, one of the most popular and famous movies of all time. So here we have so 6 Oscar wins. You know, the Oscars, right? We call Academy Awards. So this movie won 6. And so, yeah, it's very, just a great movie. Everyone agrees. So I thought it would be a good one to teach you guys. So let's take a look here. On the beginning of the movie, there's a feather floating around, right? So basically you need to go to Netflix here. Now, I know that you can't see this. So we just have the music. And in the beginning, there's a feather floating around, right? Okay. So anyway, so as I'm teaching this, I'll kind of, show it on my screen. I know you cannot see the picture, but you can read the words. We call subtitles, right? So of course you need to follow along using your own Netflix version, or getting the movie somehow. Okay, so I know you can't see the video, right? But that's okay, right? Because you can watch that by yourself. So just want to make that clear. So in the beginning, we've got a feather going along, and so here it says the feather, and there's some ideas about what that feather means when it's floating around. Tom Hanks said, "Our destiny is only defined by how we deal with the chance elements of our life, and that's kind of the embodiment of the feather as it comes in." So that means everyone has some kind of elements, parts to your life, which is just chance, right? Luck, good luck or bad luck, or something between, yeah. And it's just how you deal with that, right? Destiny, so that we have the word destiny, is sort of what's going to happen to you in your life, right? So anyway, this feather shows that, or represents that. And he says, here is this thing that can land anywhere, and that it lands at your feet. It has theological implications that are here. That means religious, theologicals, talking about religion, believing in God, stuff like that. Okay. Also, we have a quote from Sally Field. So Tom Hanks is Forrest Gump. Sally Field, that's his mother. And she says, "It blows in the wind and just touches down here or there. Was it planned, or was it just perchance?" Right? What do we know, right? We don't really know. It kind of all comes down to luck, basically, right? So, okay. And then if you keep watching the movie, the feather kind of goes for a while, right? And eventually the feather lands at Forrest's feet. Okay, and we can see here he's wearing some Nike sneakers, very dirty old Nikes. And he starts, or first he puts the feather into his little suitcase. Okay, so in the suitcase we can see a Curious George book. So he likes Curious George. This is a very famous character, and many children in America read these books, right? So Curious George books. If you go to the library, you can maybe find these, and they're really great. Even as an adult, they're fun to read. So Curious George is a famous book, and a kind of a character from our childhood. And yeah, so puts that in his suitcase. So then we see Forrest, he's on a bench in a park, and there's a lady, she comes and sits next to him.
My name's Forrest.
And he says, hello, my name's Forrest Gump. Right. And then he just starts talking to her. She's kind of not really paying attention. She's reading a magazine. He offers her a chocolate from a box of chocolates. And then he says,
my
mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates. Right. So he's always talking about his mother and what she said. Okay, so here we have Forrest Gump quotes are famous. So that's the second one, number 2. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. So it just means, you know, life is not predictable. We don't know what will happen in life, something like that. And here I just Googled the most famous ones. Number 1, stupid is, stupid does. You'll see that later. Number 2, run, Forrest, run. That's coming in next week's lesson. Yeah. You have to do the best with what God gave you. And that's from his mom again. So a lot of the quotes are from his mom. And he says that, you know, mom had a way of telling me things so I could understand them. So she has these kind of quotes that she'll say again and again so he can really understand. Okay, I will be right back. My cat needs to come in. Okay, so yeah, the quotes in this movie are very famous, very famous. Most Americans know these. They're really part of the culture. Yeah, so you can try to remember them. And in my questions, I ask you if you can tell me any famous quotes from your mother or father. So when you look at the questions, you will see that. Okay, so let's go back to, let's see, we got, okay, there's a part where Forrest's mother takes him to a doctor, right, because he has a problem with his legs. And then the doctor says, you know, his back is as crooked as a politician. So that means Forrest's legs are crooked, which means not straight, right? So there are 2 meanings of this. Crooked meaning, number 1, bent or twisted out of shape or out of place. Okay, and then number 2, dishonest or illegal. So a lot of politicians are like that, right? So 2 meanings. So that's why he says that. All right, moving along. Forrest talks about, there's a lot of American history in the movie. And so he starts off with the Civil War. Forrest's relative, his ancestor was in the Civil War, and that's where he got his name. So he talks about his name being from, you know, this guy who was in the Civil War. Okay, so American Civil War, that's when the North and the South fought each other. Why were they fighting? Do you know? It's because of slavery. The South wanted to keep the slaves because that's a great way to make money. You got people working for free. You can make a lot of money that way. So, and the North said that was terrible, so they shouldn't do that anymore. So they fought a war about that. Also, Forrest's ancestor was in the Ku Klux Klan, which is a terrible group of white men who hate Black people and Jews and others, minorities. And they still exist today, unfortunately, but luckily not too many of them anymore. Yeah. So Ku Klux Klan, yeah. Okay, let's go to our next slide. Forrest is talking about where he's from, and he's from Alabama. Can you find Alabama here on the map? So Alabama is right here. So it's in the southeast. It's good whenever you hear about a place, find it on a map, right? And then you can know where that is. So this is the South here, and this is where slavery was, right, in this part of the country. And it's different from the rest of the country. Yeah, it's quite different. Anyway, I actually go to Georgia, this state, when I go back to visit my family. My parents and my sister, their family, her family, sorry, lives in Atlanta, Georgia, which is here. My brother lives up in Boston, right, which is here in Massachusetts. Anyway, So that's a little bit about the US. I will probably talk about that more later on. We have Elvis here. Mentioned Elvis or King Cat or Cat King in Chinese. So Forrest actually meets Elvis, right? And he stays in their house as a guest because Forrest's mother, rents rooms in the house to make money. That's how they make money. So Elvis comes, and actually, so Elvis's dancing, he learned from Forrest. Forrest Gump taught Elvis how to dance, and Elvis's dance is very famous. Part of his show is his crazy dancing. At the time, they thought it was too sexy. Compared to today, it's just kind of funny and silly, not really sexy. But at that time, that was different and, very special to see a performer dancing that way. Anyway, so yeah, Elvis lived from 1935 to 1977. And he's one of the most famous, American stars in history. If you go to Las Vegas, they'll have a lot of guys who look like Elvis there. So that's how popular Elvis is. Okay. So make sure you take a look at the questions. I have here are my Forrest Gump questions. I'll also post. So your homework is to answer these questions, okay? So you can type them into the Word document and then post them on Moodle, okay? So I want to see them. I'll put the place where you can put these questions, okay? So try to do these every week and, write the answers. Then I will give you answers so you can check, okay? But it's better to do the questions by yourself and try to write those answers before I give you the answers. Yep. Okay. Because it makes you really, pay attention and think about the movie and try to, learn from it. So do your best. There are 20 questions here. And so answer those for your homework. That'll be your homework every week. Okay. So I hope that's clear. That's the end of my slideshow. And again, please do the first Forrest Gump questions for your homework and post those on Moodle, and I'll leave a place for that. All right. So thank you very much for paying attention. Again, watch the movie. If you have any questions about the movie, please send me those online. You can line me your questions. That's fine. Everyone should have my line now. Okay. You can also post questions on Moodle. There's a Moodle chat function. If you want to do it that way, you could, yeah. So please give me questions. I like those, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So for the first part, we go up to here. It's about 12 minutes, just before Forrest goes to school for the first time. So this would be the first part that we study. Okay, so it's about the first 12 minutes in. All right, I hope that's clear, and I hope you enjoy the movie. And the only problem is I might cry while I'm talking about this movie. Somehow this movie makes me cry. So if you see some tears coming down, you know why. It's because of this movie. All right, well, take care, everybody, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon in class, hopefully. All right, take care.